it was a little bit of role reversal from last scrimmage. I thought the offense played pretty well today. I thought they did a good job controlling the line of scrimmage. We ran the football well, which in turn I thought the quarterbacks had a nice day. I thought they were efficient with the ball, took advantage of opportunities down the field when they were there. And in the end, I thought they kind of controlled the tempo. Obviously, there was some. I thought the defense got better as the day went on. Getting some 3 and outs, getting off the field. So all in all, I love the improvement from the offense. The ability to run the ball, the ability to control the ball, move the football down the field. Conversely, it's like anything, when one side does good in a scrimmage, it kind of tells you the other side, we need to step that part of our game. And that's half of it's winning on first down on defense and then getting off the field on third down. So, again, we needed that, but we needed a 100-play scrimmage or so. We needed to feel the stress of it, of playing 2 halves of football. And for the most part, I like the resiliency of the guys. And obviously there's individuals along the way that are going to need to step up more so than others. But in the end, all in all, it was a good scrimmage for us.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go ahead and start off with Brian Davis.
Hey, Coach. I'm sure you're going to talk about what happened today with the quarterbacks, but I'm curious about the week as a whole. I mean, how do you feel they are going over the span of the whole week as you get closer to making a decision?
I thought they thought they had a really good week. We challenged them after that first scrimmage, and I thought they had a really good first 3 days coming off the scrimmage. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday, maybe a little spotty, not quite where I wanted it. Came back and had a really good, crisp, clean practice yesterday, and then they both went out and performed pretty well from the naked eye today. I thought they took care of the ball. I thought our tempo was better offensively, which is a lot on them of controlling that tempo, whether we're, using shifts and motions, whether we were trying to go fast, whatever that is, they control it on the field. And I thought they got completions, and that's half of the key to the drill in our system is getting completions, right? We have to be able to get the ball to our players in space, allow them to make plays. And then when the opportunity presents itself, take those shots, but take the shots with being accurate. And I thought they did that today, but they'd really been doing it all week. And that's the positive sign.
Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, you had mentioned last week that, the quarterbacks had not played up to your standard. It seems like they were closer to that this week. So, in terms of what you're looking for, how much closer were they to that standard that you're looking for? And then just in terms of Casey and Hudson, where did you see their biggest individual improvement from last Saturday to this Saturday?
Well, I would say they played winning football today, and that's the standard, right? I mean, are they putting us in a position to win games? And they did that. And first of all, that starts with taking care of the ball. The second aspect of that is managing the offense, right? I always laugh at the cliche that he's a good game manager. Well, that's a prerequisite for playing quarterback. And then the third thing, I thought they took advantage of the opportunities when they were there. So I thought both of them played winning football. Probably the biggest thing that we did better today than last week, we got the ball out of our hands. We took some sacks last week. I didn't think our eyes were great last week. And in turn, we didn't trust reads. We didn't see coverages, and we were late with the ball. Today, I think they trusted their protection. They knew what was happening. They got the ball out of their hands on time and accurately, which in turn, less sacks, but yet now moving the ball efficiently down the field.
Anwar, you're up.
Hey, Coach. You have a really good history when it comes to first-year quarterbacks, whether it's Mac Jones, Kessler, Price, Locker. I can go down the line, John David Booty, and Leinart. I'm curious, what's the key to success when it comes to working with a first-year quarterback, at least your key? And is that different for you than maybe potentially working with a veteran person, a veteran quarterback?
Well, I think, the one thing we really try to do, we really try to find the things that he does well. And we have to identify that throughout camp, throughout practice, and whether they're concepts, whether they're play action passes, whether they're, formations, empty, whatever they are, the things that they do well. And then put them in position when it comes time to scrimmages and then ultimately games to put them in position to have success. It's not about what I know or what plays have the best design. It's what plays do they operate the best and what plays are they the most comfortable with. And that's really what we try to do. And, we're doing that now with Casey and Hudson. And as far as just recognizing the things that we think they do well and putting them in position to do it. Now, ultimately, when the season comes, there's a lot of dialogue with them of why we like a specific play and are they comfortable with that play. And there may be a great play design, but if they're not comfortable, we don't call it. We may keep working on it for 1, 2, 3, sometimes 2 months throughout the season until that comfort level's there for us to then call the play. So that's, I don't think that there's any secret sauce there to doing it. It's just calling the things that they execute really well.
Sam, go ahead.
Hey, Steve, curious, when is a timeline for you to start shaking out the travel roster, your 70 or so that are going to be those guys? And also, do you have a status update on Troy O'Meary?
Yeah, so we'll, as a staff tomorrow, really get together and dissect the roster and really put together a 2 deep to try to get ourselves a really good foundation of a 2 deep, whether that's offense, defense, or all phases on special teams. And that doesn't mean it's set in stone, but it at least gives us a parameter heading into next week of, okay, we've been repping a lot of guys have been getting opportunities. Now, if we were playing next Saturday, what would our 2 deep look like? And then we kind of start to practice that way. And then rolling some of the threes in there as we go. So that you're spot on, Sam, as far as, now's the time, and we'll come out of this scrimmage tomorrow and have a good 2.5 week evaluation on these guys of what our 2 deep looks like. Troy, has got a subtle strain to his knee. He's in the rehab process. I don't want to call it day to day, but I also don't want to think it's months either. I think the reality of this thing with him, it could be a week, maybe 2, we'll see. But we're underway. We're under the process of getting him back to 100% healthy and getting him back on the field.
Ed, go ahead.
Coach, in a perfect world, when would you like to name a starting quarterback? Is it next week? Is it the Monday before the game with Louisiana? What is your timetable? What do you want to do with the quarterback situation in announcing a starter? Or are you even thinking about that right now?
No, I mean, it's on my mind. I don't want to act like I'm neglecting it. No, it's definitely on my mind. Obviously, we've got a lot of components to the team to be aware of. The ideal world is, sooner rather than later, right? I mean, if I can put my head down on the pill tonight and know who that starter is, that's great. That doesn't mean I have to tell you guys and announce it, but I may know, right? But, that would be ideal. As we maneuver through this next week, we'll see. I got to go look at this tape and really evaluate some of the special situations and things that came up and how we operated in some areas where maybe I had some concern about one guy or the other, and was he able to handle those situations as they came? But the reality of it is, like I said, and I've said this all along, these guys have made it difficult because outside of last Saturday, when we just didn't play great at quarterback, they're performing pretty good. They're playing good and they're making it hard. And I appreciate that about them. They're trying to do the things we're asking them to do. And then they're working on it and they're getting better at it. And even from last week of getting in the stadium, having more of a scrimmage format and not playing great and coming back this week and performing the way they did, gives me a sense of comfort. I've always said, we're probably in a better position at the quarterback position than a lot of people, because I really believe we have 2 guys that can play. Now, I believe in having a starter and having a backup, but man, when I've got a backup that can play at a high level and operate our offense the way we want to operate, that's really a luxury for us, because there's a lot of teams that maybe have a returning starter who's a frontline guy, but their backup may not be very capable. Well, we're in a pretty good position that way. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but the reality of it is, sooner rather than later, it has been when I'd like to have that happen.
Chip, you're up.
Steve, what do you feel best about right now? And where do you think you have the most work to do? with 2 weeks to go? And would you play both quarterbacks in game one?
I probably feel best about, I think we've got really good depth at running back. I know I talk a lot about Bijan, and he's a special player and he's a very versatile guy, but having Roshan there, having the addition of Keelan Robinson, and then the emergence of Jonathan Brooks, that's a pretty good luxury for us at that position. I think we have depth on the defensive front. I feel really good about that. Like anything, it's how do we continue to find ways to create explosive plays? That's such a huge component for us. How do we continually find ways to eliminate the explosive plays defensively? And that goes hand in hand. And sometimes the offense may miss an explosive play or a quarterback may miss a read, but if he would have thrown that post, maybe it would have been a big play. So I'm trying to minimize that defensively. Those are probably two areas for me. And I know I'm speaking on out of both sides of my mouth, but that's the way it goes when you scrimmage. I feel good about our special teams. I think that we've got depth. We've got really good returners. I think our kicking game is really sound. That aspect of it is good. And I feel better about us up front offensively this week than I did last week. I thought the guys played well. I thought the tight ends played well. That was a positive. I think in the end, we've got to continually fight to create turnovers defensively, right? And that's such a huge component to what we do in our style of play, that we got to fight to create and get the ball out and getting tips and overthrows and things like that. So that'd be a big deal. And as far as the quarterbacks in week one, ideally the scenario is we have a starter, he plays really well, and that's the way it goes. I'm not going to go into that game saying, series 2 or series 3 or in the second half, the next guy's going to play. But that doesn't mean if we need him to play that I won't put him in the game based on how the game's going.
Roger, go ahead.
Steve, just kind of like a technical question, I guess. What does the schedule look like for the next 2 weeks? I know you said you wanted these final 2 weeks to be focusing on the opener. So is it less training camp? And especially now that you're going to have the 2 deep kind of set, are you moving into game week mode now starting tomorrow?
Well, yeah. The players are off tomorrow. And then, we start school on Wednesday. So we really are out of training camp mode at that point. Monday, we'll move into the south end zone, which I know our players are excited about, and get them acclimated to that. And then from there, the practice format will really be our normal game week format because of school beginning. And so we'll be going in the mornings, and then the guys will be heading off to class starting Wednesday in the afternoons. So that aspect of it, yes, we are out of training camp. There'll be some aspects of practice that'll have some training camp components to it over this next week. But to your point, we will be shifting our focus more to the first ball game and getting our guys prepared for that.
Danny, you're up.
Steve, first, is there an injury update from today's action? And secondly, overall, what do you need from your tight ends in this offense?
Injury wise, we held a couple guys out just for bumps and bruises, nothing serious of the guys that maybe didn't go today. The one guy that didn't finish the scrimmage was Jaden Alexis. We'll get him checked out with a knee. I'll keep you guys posted on that. But outside of that, I think we're relatively healthy as a football team through training camp. Our tight ends in our offense, there's a lot on them. I say it a lot. The quarterback is obviously extremely valuable in this system, but the tight ends are almost the next most valuable person because we ask them to do so much. We put a lot on them formationally. We have a variety of run schemes that ask them to be blockers, whether it's on the line of scrimmage, on the perimeter, or internally. And then they're pretty extensive role in the passing game. So there's a lot on them to make this offense go. And what all that means is they need to be versatile players, right? They need to be physical. They need to be athletic. They need to be smart. They need to have good ball skills. So there's a lot that goes into that position for us to operate at a high level.
Jeff Howe, go ahead.
Sark, I know Troy's been out with the knee, Joshua Moore missing time with the shoulder, and Kelvonte with the ankle. With all those receivers out and kind of in and out, how has it been tough for you and Coach Coleman to kind of figure out what you've got there, and B, for those guys to really develop a good rapport with the quarterback?
Well, I think two sides to it, right? I think the first side is a lot of opportunities for guys, right? They're getting opportunities to play and forced to play and go through some of the growing pains. I think also when those guys keep coming back, they kind of have their legs back under them. Josh has been back now for a few days. He had a great scrimmage today. I mean, if I had to give you a player of the game, it'd probably be Josh Moore after today's scrimmage. So the positive of it is, one, a lot of reps for a lot of guys. Two, fresh legs when they're getting back. And three, we're getting to see a lot, and we're able to find the right combination. Now, over these next 2 weeks, that's why this depth chart is really important to find that continuity as you're talking about, of finding that rapport with the quarterback, and understanding when, how, and why we want specific players in specific spots on concepts that we run. So, but all in all, I think we're finding out a lot about that position group. And they're getting better, which is probably the most encouraging part. The passing game was been a lot more efficient this week than it was the first week of practice.
Joe Cook, go ahead.
Steve, I know with offensive line, it seems like you have your top five kind of set in order, but it's about finding, number 6, number 7, and number 8. How do you think the process is going in finding those 6, 7, 8, maybe number 9 offensive line so far?
I think it's gone good. I think Andre Carrick has really started to step his game up. He's a good physical player. I think Hayden Connor is another guy, as a young player, has really improved over the first 2.5 weeks. And I think Tope Amata provides a lot of strength and physicality internally for us. For us, we're a downhill running football team. So he provides something a little bit unique and different for us from that standpoint. Now, go beyond that. That's where we got to figure out, what is the next best scenario for us to get into, whether you're talking a Logan Parr, Isaiah Hookfin, a Tyler Johnson, a lot of different kind of, options that we could fill in with. But, you guys have seen us practice just a snippet, but a little bit. Everybody gets reps when we practice. And so if you're a 2, you get the same amount of reps as the guys that's a 1. So you get plenty of opportunity to improve and to get better. And I think some guys are getting better quicker than others. And that's starting to show and starting to separate themselves a little bit.
Nathan, go ahead.
I think you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, Coach Sarkisian, Nathan Hahn with the DH Hexen. What's the best home crowd you've coached in front of, and where do you think DKR can sort of rank on that list?
Right. That's that loaded question again. You guys like trying to set me up, man. I've coached in front of some great home crowds and in some great environments. I can't tell you how excited I am to get in front of our home crowd here at DKR. And just to think that, it's been 2 years since we really had, full capacity and everyone there. And now with the addition of the South End Zone, I think it's going to be an electric atmosphere. I know our players are looking forward to it. We've already started prepping for the crowd noise. And, most times you prep for crowd noise for your offense. We're prepping for crowd noise for our defense. Because we're anticipating a raucous environment, a great environment that should motivate our guys, but also, create a pretty good advantage for us.
Got time for a couple last ones. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, a different topic, but I wanted to ask you about Moro Ojimo. Preacher's kid, comes from a great family, at least what I've been able to talk with. What's been your impressions of him so far?
Diligent worker. Really tries to apply the things that we're asking him to do, but then, he doesn't overthink things. And I think that's where he's really improved from spring ball to now in fall camp. I thought he was trying to do right in spring ball. Sometimes he would get caught almost, paralysis by analysis of overthinking it. And the one thing that he's showing now in fall camp is he's cutting it loose, and he knows what to do. He's cutting it loose. He's a very disruptive player. He's got that real attacking mentality up front, which obviously we're looking for. and he's done a nice job. I mean, he really has.
Chip, go ahead.
Steve, how much did you game plan for these scrimmages last week and this week from an offensive standpoint?
We didn't. Everything we did in the scrimmage were just things that we had installed over the first 2 weeks or so of camp. Ultimately, you can't go into a scrimmage forcing the players to know everything. So we tried to put together a little bit of a call sheet for them to anticipate what was coming. But nothing was structured just to try to scheme and beat the defense. It was about, can we execute the call regardless of what the defense is on both sides, quite frankly, and defense the same way. The game planning now will start to shift into next week. But more importantly, it was calling things that put our guys in position to, have some success, the things that they're good at. And if we didn't feel great about what they were doing, I was always a little hesitant to call something that I knew maybe it was a young tight end, just wasn't quite there yet on a specific scheme. Let's not call that yet. Let's give him some things that he knows really well so he can play fast and physical.
Got time for one quick last one. Terry, go ahead.
Coach Sarkisian, thank you for being here. So Coach, the team practices and trains very specifically and purposely so that the team is unified and in sync and they can play at a high level during the game. But I'm curious, what and how do you personally, and also as a coaching staff, as a unit, what do you guys do to prepare and train for calling plays and managing the game?
Well, when we go to practice, we'll have specific periods in practice where we will just call it. So we may say, hey, we're going to run, this is an 8-play series. And we know we're only going to run 8 plays, but we just call the plays based on as they come off as if it were a scrimmage. Other times, I know from a defensive perspective, we'll say, hey, here's the personnel groupings for this rack. Here's the hash we may be on, or maybe don't use hash, but here's the down and distance. And then we just call it from there. And then we do a lot of very specific things in our walkthroughs, a lot of situational walkthroughs to prepare not only the players, but the coaches for the scenarios as they come. And then the types of calls that we might make in those very specific scenarios so that the coaches can prep for it, but also the players can anticipate maybe some calls that are coming in those critical moments.
One last quick follow-up, Jeff, go ahead.
Hey, Sark, just real quick, with the brand licensing program that the athletic department announced yesterday, didn't know if you had any thoughts on that specifically, if that can give you guys a boost or help in any way in recruiting in terms of giving you clarity on name, image, and likeness stuff.
Well, I think, it's a credit, like I said early on, about whether it was name, image, and likeness or conference change or all the things that come up. I've got a amazing amount of trust in the leadership of the University of Texas and President Hartzell, Chris Del Conte, and the fact that they continually are looking for ways to support our student athletes and to support our players, I think is amazing, and I credit them for doing that. I think our players are very appreciative that the university is continually trying to find ways to take advantage of the opportunities there for them. And this is just another example of that. And, the fact that they're able to do that with jersey sales and different things, again, I think is a credit to the university and the leadership that we have, but also I think our players appreciate it as well. And that's the beauty of having a really good relationship with the leadership of your university.